Hello and welcome to the channel. Please subscribe and comment below to help the channel. Today's story is Daytime Star. Please enjoy. All the wedding preparations are complete. Soon we will welcome today's stars, Mr. Jong-woo Kim and Miss Moran Moon, the host announced, calling for the groom. As Jong-woo entered the wedding hall, the guests erupted into applause, celebrating the happy couple. But amidst the joy, there was one person whose heart was breaking, Hwang Yura, silently witnessing the wedding of the man she loved. Yura was a talented, hard-working actress with a kind soul. After losing her parents, Jong-woo had been her pillar of support, the one person she trusted and loved more than anyone. And now she was watching him marry someone else, someone wealthy. Her mind drifted back to the moment when he had broken the news. Flashback to the previous week. Yura had been excited to see Jong-woo after a long, tiring week. He had called her to meet at a cafe. As soon as she arrived, he tossed an invitation card in front of her and sipped his coffee. Confused, she was about to ask what it was, but before she could get a word out, he spoke. "I'm getting married. My future father-in-law is the strongest presidential candidate," he said, staring at his coffee cup. "That's why our worlds are growing further apart." His words hit her like a punch to the gut. All the memories they had shared together flashed before her eyes. She sat frozen, her expression blank, while he continued. "I don't know if you're naive or just plain stupid. You never even got suspicious when I ignored your calls once a month, blaming photo shoots. How could you know about overseas schedules when you've never done one, right?" His words pierced through her heart. She had trusted him completely, never doubting his excuses. But now, he was calling her foolish for that trust. Flashback ends. The newlywed couple entered the hall to thunderous applause and cheers. Yura sat at her table trying to mask her hurt, but every glance at Jong-woo made her more irritated. Her hand shook, causing her tea to spill. She clenched her fist, silently repeating to herself, "Be patient, be patient." She forced herself to stay calm. "I have to be patient for my own sake," she thought. "He invited me here, so I might as well enjoy the meal. Consider it his last gift." She began eating, trying to distract herself, but a waitress soon interrupted her. "Excuse me, miss. The seats for guests have been arranged. May I escort you to your seat if you tell me your name?" the waitress asked politely. Yura, feeling embarrassed, simply stared. "What am I doing here? Why am I sitting here pretending not to care?" she thought. "Is it because I want to show that I'm fine?" Memories of people offering their sympathy after her parents' death flooded her mind, including Jong-woo's own words. "I'll always be by your side." The waitress's voice cut through her thoughts again. "Miss, I'm sorry, but the guest assigned to this seat—" "My name is Yura Hwang," she interrupted abruptly, standing up. "Ah, Miss Yura Hwang, please follow me," the waitress replied, guiding her to a seat in the corner. Yura felt tears welling up and started searching for her sunglasses, but they were nowhere to be found. She remembered leaving them at the other table. Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, Seung-hyun Kang, a famous actor and CEO, noticed the sunglasses. His friend commented, "Wow, they served you soup right after you sat down." "No," Seung-hyun replied absent-mindedly, his attention on the sunglasses. He was about to pick them up when Yura rushed over, grabbed them, and quickly apologized before running off. Both men were left staring after her, confused. Seung-hyun felt a strange sense of familiarity. "Where have I seen her before?" he wondered. But as he drank his soup, he thought, "Does it even matter if I remember?" Yura, now feeling completely out of place, was embarrassed by her own clumsiness. After the wedding, she returned home and immediately called her best friend, who was also her assistant. "Find me some auditions," she said, her voice resolute. She wanted to show Jong-woo what he had lost. Though she'd been in the film industry for years, she'd always been in the shadows, playing roles behind the lead. But this time, things would be different. This time, she was determined to land a bigger role. This was her chance for a fresh start. "Ah, you passed! You passed!" Yura's best friend came shouting. "Time called for you to come!" Yura had been reading a book when her best friend and assistant came running to her with the news. After returning from her ex's wedding, Yura had auditioned for many roles. Now she had been selected for the lead role in a major film, a movie where even big-name celebrities had auditioned. It was incredible news, and she was in shock. It's hard to believe, she thought as she stood up quickly. Are you serious? Time chose me? Yura asked, standing in disbelief. Her friend nodded and they hugged tightly. Tears welled up in Yura's eyes. Sis, I'm not dreaming, am I? She asked. It's real. Stop crying. You're making me cry too, her friend replied, laughing. Time was a highly anticipated film by director Young Han-yu, a top figure in the Korean movie industry. The film would feature two of the biggest box office stars, Seung-hyun Kang and Chang Hae-yeon Cho. Yura had auditioned for the female lead 2 months ago, but since she hadn't heard back, she had lost hope. After 7 years in the film industry, she had only ever played supporting roles. Wait, it's too soon to celebrate, Yura suddenly said, panicking. Didn't they ask us to come and pick up the script? Aren't we supposed to have a table read, or has the shooting been delayed? She rushed around in excitement, her mind racing. No, they said everything's going as scheduled, her friend reassured her. They want you on set in 3 days in Busan for shooting. What? Shooting, not a table read? Yura asked, confused. Her friend confirmed it was for the actual shoot. Yura's excitement quickly faded as she realized something. Wait, I don't have any lines, do I? She asked, growing upset. Grabbing her friend's arm, she asked if she was playing Hyarim's part, but her friend shook her head. No, you're playing Susie. Once again, Yura was cast in a supporting role. Susie was the male lead's ex, a character who appeared only in flashbacks before tragically drowning herself. Yura had already memorized all the lines, but her heart sank. Her excitement was gone, replaced with disappointment. But then she thought to herself, if I have to play someone who has lost all hope, maybe I can do it well. Yura stood up with a new resolve and smiled. All right, maybe I can steal the public's attention. How many chances do I get to act in time? She said cheerfully. Her friend handed her a handkerchief. Here, use this, she said with a laugh. A year ago. Cut! Cut! The director's voice boomed through the set as he shouted at Yura. She felt humiliated and apologized repeatedly. You're just an extra, but you've been making mistakes left and right. Even the leads aren't messing up this much, the director yelled, telling everyone to take a break. Her best friend ran over to her. Are you okay? She asked. The director always scolds people when he's in a bad mood. You got yelled at for no reason, she tried to console Yura, but Yura forced a smile and said, I'm fine. She excused herself to go to the bathroom, but instead ran to a corner. Placing her hand on the wall, she felt the weight of all the insults she had endured over the past 6 years. No one ever remembered her. Tears began to stream down her face. Why am I crying? She whispered to herself. The shoot isn't even over yet. Suddenly, a hand appeared, offering her a handkerchief. It was Seung-hyun Kang, the male lead and her senior. She quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed. Senior, I'm sorry, because of me the shoot is delayed, she said, forcing a smile. Seung-hyun gently took her hand and gave her the handkerchief. Don't worry about it. The dress came from a sponsor, so you can't get it dirty. Use this, he said kindly. Yura thanked him, and Seung-hyun Kang smiled, telling her she didn't need to return the handkerchief. But as he turned to leave, he suddenly paused and asked her name. His smile lit up his face, making Yura feel as if the world had brightened. He gave her hope, and she told him her name with a smile. Flashback ends. Now, in the car, Yura couldn't stop thinking about him. She held the handkerchief tightly in her hands and smiled to herself. At that time, I couldn't thank him properly because I wasn't feeling well, but maybe he's already forgotten about me. Still, I'm honored to be part of the same movie as him, she thought, unaware of what was coming next. The shooting was in Busan, so Yura traveled there with her best friend. When they arrived at the location, which was by the seaside, the peaceful sound of the waves was contrasted by the bustling crowd. Yura greeted the director, and everything seemed to be going well until she saw a familiar face, one she hoped she wouldn't encounter. Jongwoo Kim? Yura said, her face a mix of shock and disgust. Yura Hwang? Jungwoo responded, his face twisted in irritation. Both were stunned to see their exes at the shooting location. "What are you doing here?" they both shouted at the same time. "I'm here for the shoot." "Why are you here?" Yura shot back. Before Jong-woo could respond, someone called for him, and his expression instantly shifted. He smiled and spoke politely to them. And Yura couldn't help but wonder how she had never noticed how easily he changed. Turning to Yura, Jong-woo said, "Looks like you got a minor role, huh? Be careful with your words. I don't want my name getting mixed up with yours." His tone was cold and unsettling. Suddenly, the director called him away, and he walked off with a smile, leaving Yura feeling uncomfortable. Her friend Jin Kyung rushed over to her. "Yura, it's bad. I just heard from the crew that Jong-woo Kim," she started, but when she saw Yura's disgusted expression, she realized Yura had already met him. "How could he be here?" Yura asked. Jin Kyung explained that Jong-woo Kim was replacing the second main lead, Chang Hyun Cho, who had been dropped due to some investors pulling back their funding. While it wasn't surprising that Jong-woo got the role, his wife was the daughter of a powerful presidential candidate, it still stung. Yura had nearly forgotten about him, but seeing him in the lead role while she was just an extra made her feel bitter. "Why should I avoid him?" Yura said, trying to stay positive. "Being cast in any role, no matter how small, is more satisfying and honorable than getting the lead through dirty connections." Jin Kyung, though concerned, was happy to see Yura trying to move on. She smiled and said she'd join Yura after sharing some drinks with the crew. Yura asked for a drink, but Jin Kyung refused, encouraging Yura to focus on her acting as she went off to distribute drinks. For the last 7 years, Jin Kyung had been Yura's only support, the one who gave her hope. She was like family to Yura. Now it was Yura's turn to shine and make Jin Kyung proud. Meanwhile, Seung Hyun Kang was talking on the phone with a friend who had been replaced by Jong. Kim. Though his friend was upset, Kang Hyun was neither sad nor surprised. He knew that Jong-woo had manipulated his way into the role, using his wife's powerful connections. Even the crew and the director seemed to be under his control. Kang Hyun lay on his bed, frustrated by the whole situation. He hadn't expected to meet Jong-woo so soon, and certainly not under these circumstances. Just then, his assistant burst in with bad news. "Kang Hyun, why are you lying around? Help us stop Director Yu. He's going to kill someone if this keeps going on," his assistant shouted. Kang Hyun jumped up and rushed to the set. The director was shouting at Yura again, criticizing her acting. "Why are you hesitating and looking terrified? You're supposed to act like someone who drowned herself, but why do you look like someone asking for help?" He yelled at her as she stood, drenched and shivering by the sea. Yura, her voice trembling, kept apologizing. The director's patience was running out. "How many times are you going to apologize? If you can't do it, go back to Seoul and stop causing trouble, Fro," he snapped. The assistant director intervened and suggested they take a break, and Yura thanked him. Though the assistant director reminded her that she was the third person cast in the role of Susie, and that they were growing tired of looking for a replacement. Jin Kyung quickly wrapped Yura in a warm blanket and led her to the car. Meanwhile, Jong-woo Kim stood at a distance, watching the scene unfold. He walked over to her car and opened the door, sitting next to Yura. "I know you're not a famous actress, but I never thought you'd accept a role where you die in the first scene. If you want, I can offer you a different role," he said with a creepy smile. Yura immediately rejected his offer and told him to leave. He insulted her, implying that she had no value and should be grateful for the time they had spent together. Frustrated, Yura got out of the car and sat outside, trying to collect herself. Just then, Seung Hyun Kang stepped out of his room and noticed Yura sitting alone, crying. At first, he didn't say anything, but then he saw her, the long hair, the white dress, and immediately recognized her as Susie. "Susie?" he called softly. Yura looked up and saw her senior standing behind her. "Hello and welcome to the channel. Please subscribe and comment below to help the channel. Today's story is Daytime Star. Please enjoy." Kang Seung-hyun called her name, making her. She turned and saw it was her senior. Kang Hyun was staring at her without saying a word while Yura just wiped her tears. Senior Kang Seung-hyun? She was screaming in her mind, but she was too embarrassed to say anything in front of him. She stood up and said, that. Nice to meet you, Senior," while tucking her hair behind her ear. "I am Hwang Yura, playing the role of Susie. Sorry, Senior, for greeting a bit late," she said while gathering some courage. Yura was done introducing her and greeting him and was waiting for his reply, but he was lost in some thoughts. Kang Hyun immediately knew that she was the girl he thought. Anyway, how can he treat her like this in this cold weather? Look how pale her face is. But that director Yu met at Moran's marriage. He was just staring at her while Yura was looking down. It was the same as a year ago. Why do I keep letting him see this side of mine? She thought, "Miss Hwang Yura?" He called while picking her coat from the ground and removing the dust on it. "Yes," she instantly replied. "Your coat is dropped," while wrapping the coat around her. Yura's face was red, and she thanked him while pausing. Maybe it's because her mouth is frozen, so she can't speak clearly. If she keeps like this, there will be problems when they film, he thought. "Miss Hwang Yura. The director's place is over there, so if you're going to take a shower, just go over there and do it," he said while pointing towards the rooms. I'm fine, thank you. I don't feel like that to the director," while shaking her hand. He thought that she was angry with the director. "Don't worry, I understand how you feel." While crossing his arms, Yura was just trying to say no, but he thought maybe she was scared. "Can't just let things be like this. I'll go and ask the director directly," he said while leaving, but Yura grabbed his hand and said, "Please don't, Senior. A little loud." Hearing her voice, he smiled that her throat was better now while turning his head, but he noticed that she was very familiar and pulled his face closer to her, making her face all red. But before he could say something, Jin Kyung came running towards them. "Good you're here," Jin Kyung said while letting out a sigh. Kang Hyun said hello, and she was shocked to see him. To her, he was beaming like a sun, but not losing her dignity. She cleared her throat and said hello, and Kang Hyun bowed. She told him that she was her manager, making him nod. She held Yura's hand and pulled her, saying that the director was looking for her, and took her away while Kang Hyun was just staring at them with a blank expression. Yura turned and said, "Senior then, excuse me first." Hwang Yura. Why did she look embarrassed on Moran's wedding day, he thought. He immediately remembered helping her. "She's that girl," he mumbled. "So today counts as our third meeting. I don't know what's wrong with her, but she always cried every time we met," while smiling, and went to the shooting set. "I'm sorry to have kept you all waiting, director." She apologized. "Why, you still have 1 minute left. Why didn't you take your time to show by then?" the director said in an arrogant tone. She once again apologized. "I heard that it's been 7 years since your debut," he said, while Yura just nodded and replied with yes. "So, just saying you've been doing this for 7 years is enough?" "Yeah, I already have 7 years of experience, so people like directors and all can wait. I'm tired and I must rest first," he said. He was just constantly insulting her, even though it was the first time making this mistake, but she didn't say anything. "I've seen a lot of people like you. Just because they've debuted for years, they think that they're special." While lighting up a cigarette, but before he could say anything else, someone snatched it, making him furious. He turned to see who it was. He was about to swear, but didn't say anything, knowing that it was none other than Kang Seung-hyun. "Why would you vent your anger on someone else? I told you to get rid of Kim Jung-woo to bring back Chang Hyun, didn't I?" Kang Hyun said while placing a cigarette in his mouth. "Excuse me, Kang Seung-hyun, you refused the role yourself. Why are you here to mess around?" director shouted. "I should be the one to ask that question. You could have had some scenes taken with that much time," he said. "This is what a person who refused the role would say," director said while snatching back the cigar from Kang Seung-hyun's hands, and told Yura to get ready for the shot. Yura went to prepare. "Switch to this way of putting on airs. Humiliate the director to boast about yourself." The director said to Kang Hyun, "Nope. If that was my intention, then I wouldn't have gone so easy on you," Kang replied. "Cruel man," the director commented, making him smile. The director and Kang Hyun were friends and loved to fight with each other. Yura was getting prepared for the scene while Kang Seung-hyun was talking with the director about Yura. That girl who plays Susie, did she go to an acting school? Kang Seung-hyun asked. I don't know, maybe she's the one who auditioned for Hye Rim or something, the director replied. It's not like she's the only one. How can I remember them all? I had enough of a headache thanks to Chang Huin, so my assistant took care of it instead and chose her. Even those who debuted for 7 years could be mentally unstable in front of the camera, director said. Kang Seung-hyun was surprised and shocked to know that she had debuted for 7 years, but she didn't look like it. 7 years? That's a long time. But why haven't I seen her in any movie, he asked. I heard that she's played multiple supporting roles, but I still can't believe it, director said. And Kang Hyun asked him why, but he didn't say anything. Yura was very nervous and took a deep breath. Jin Kyun asked her if she was okay, but she replied that it's a good thing that she actually feels like dying right now. Jin Kyun was very sad. Looking at her expressions, she held her hand and said, You only need that kind of emotion now. Just for now, okay? And Yura nodded. I messed you completely thinking that I must not make a mistake in front of Kim Jong-woo. The feeling of wanting to do a good job will make me look like I have the will to live. I must recall the times I wanted to give up, she thought. And the shooting started. Yura was going into the sea. All the things that the director and her ex said were going through her head. Step by step, she was going into the sea. She wanted to give up and leave everything behind. Tears were running down her eyes. She didn't have any hope in her eyes. All the people witnessing the scene were shocked to see her on this side. Some of them pitied her while the director was amazed by her skill. This is not a gaze from a person that got 10 times NG, right? Kang Hyun said. The director didn't have any words and said, Let's wait and watch. Kang Seung-hyun was looking at her without saying anything and thought if she was just acting. The crew announced the cut, and the crew was very sure that she finally completed the shoot, while her friend was just staring at her blank expressions. Why does she want to piss me off when she can do this well in the beginning? The director said and stood up. Kang Seung-hyun noticed Yura was just going into the sea, deeper without stopping like she really wanted to end her life, and she disappeared. Her friend and Kang Hyun immediately run towards her to stop her. Kang Seung-hyun went into the sea and saved her. He grabbed her hand and pulled her hand, grabbing her, and took her to the beach. And noticed she was unconscious. Her friend was crying and trying to wake her up while Kang Hyun was trying to get the water out of her. He quickly grabbed her chin and started giving her CPR lips to lips. After some time, she started coughing and woke up. Her vision was still blurry. Yura, are you awake yet? Can you see me? Kang Seung-hyun saved you. Now you're okay, her friend said and hugged her tightly. Ah, senor, really? Yura said while extending her hand to Kang Seung-hyun. Kang Seung-hyun was just staring at her while she was trying to speak. Looking at her hand, he immediately grabbed her and said, Thanks me later, while smiling, but really salty. They both were surprised to hear her, and she immediately cried, saying that it was really salty. The smile on Kang Seung-hyun's immediately faded upon hearing her words and was just staring at her without any expression. Soon the crew and director advised them to change their clothes and go to rest as it was now late night. Kang Hyun returned to his room. His manager was in his room hearing some noises. He knew that he was back. You're home? Did everything go well with Director Yu? Huh? He noticed his messy state and wet clothes. He asked him what happened. Kang Seung-hyun started unbuttoning his clothes, saying, It's nothing. Sorry, but bring me some new clothes, please. His manager was very worried and started asking many questions at once, while Kang Hyun started going towards the bathroom to take a shower while ignoring him. He paused and started thinking about earlier. How did her voice come back to life after dying? He thought that she was very cute and started laughing loudly as he was holding back after all this time, and said, What a cute girl, leaving his manager shocked. But before he could ask anything, he went in to shower. After coming back from the shower, he picked up the script and sat on the couch. What's wrong? Why are you taking the script? If the protest ends, take a shower and play in the film. That's what Director Yu said. His manager asked, What? Do I have to stay up late? Have you ever seen him talk nonsense? Thanks to you, the person who thoroughly followed the plan has messed up today's schedule. That's why I have to stay up late, he said. Vertical bar, vertical bar. So, you want to stay up with me tonight? Kang Hyun asked, and his manager replied that he would see him off at the set. Kang Sung-hyuna and his manager went out of the hotel and they saw Jin Kyung near the hotel entrance talking with someone. Just enter room 205. Kang Seung-hyun had to film all night and some of the staff didn't come. She won't feel any inconvenience. Jin Kyung, thank you. Kang Sung-hyun heard their conversation and got in the middle of their conversation, making them startled. Kang, what? There's no room left at the inn. Someone, you surprised me. Why did you come here without making a sound? Hwang Yura had finished filming today and she was about to go back to her room. The new schedule was extended because you refused to complete your role. She started complaining to Kang Seung-hyun, making him guilty. He didn't know that a small decision would affect her. And after what happened today, he didn't want her to trouble her anymore. Kang, I'm sorry. Because of me. Miss Hwang Yura's schedule. Jin, it's okay. I would have any in trouble if Kang Sung-hyun hadn't helped me. Thank you very much. Kang, you don't have to say that, but is it okay if she doesn't go to the hospital? Jin, I said that I will. But if she told me that she is still fine, so it's okay if she didn't go to see a doctor. At first, she looked fine. Before she could complete her sentence, Yura called her, asking if the room was all right, but she noticed Kang and greeted him. Jin told her that they were talking about her making her cheeks bright red. The girls were talking while Kang was just staring at Yura and thought that she looked really good. Kang Hwang Yura, are you okay? Yura told him that she was fine and thanked him for saving her, and Kang apologized to Yura that she had to work for one more day because of him. Yura said that it was fine and she was really happy to film at the set for one more day, while smiling brightly towards him. Kang smiled, seeing her smile, and thought that she was full of energy. Kang, it'll be hard for you tomorrow if you catch a cold, so hurry, get inside and take some rest. Yura bowed her head and thanked him, but suddenly she remembered something and asked Kang to wait for a bit and went to her car. She came back with a handkerchief in her hands that he gave her a year ago. Yura, do you remember? A year ago, you lent me this in a commercial filming set. Kang, I told you it's fine not to return it to me. Yura, but it looks very expensive. They both bowed to each other, thanking each other, but Yura continuously thanked him. Again and again, sometime later, Kang stopped her and asked her to rest. Kang's manager, Sung-hyun, let's go, the director called us. Kang and his manager left, leaving Jin Kyung and Yura at the entrance. Kang was talking with his manager about Yura, but suddenly his manager said that Jin Kyung's personality was good. Kang asked her who she was, and he told her that she was Yura's manager, and he started talking about her continuously while Kang was just nodding and saying yes. Kang stopped and told his manager that to go first, he'll catch up with him later, running back to the hotel. He came into Yura's room running furiously, and Yura noticed him breathing and heaving and asked him what happened, but he pulled the room keys out from his pocket. Yura, Senior, what are you talking about? Kang, I said sleep in my bedroom. Yura was trying to process what she just heard, but Kang called her name and said, will you take it tomorrow? Yura, I was wondering if I just heard something wrong. Kang, what did you hear? Yura, sleep in your room. Kang, so stop thinking, take it now. Yura thought something else and misunderstood him. She made a bad face and said that she is not that kind of person. Kang was taken aback and understood that she misunderstood him and thought he wanted to sleep with her. He tried clearing the misunderstanding, but Yura stopped him. Yura, I need to read the script. Could you please go out? Kang, Yura, I think you misunderstood something. Yura, please go out. Kang, anyway, the room is empty today, so go and relax with the manager. I'm filming all night today. It is because of me that the filming has been postponed until tomorrow, and I thought it would be difficult for you to control your condition today as it happened. Yura was very embarrassed and started looking down for misunderstanding him while he was just trying to help her. And Kang went out for his shooting, and Yura hid her face in script. Hello and welcome to the channel. Please subscribe and comment below to help the channel. Today's story is Daytime Star. Please enjoy. Jin Kyung was in the shower when Kang Seung-hyun came by to give Yura the keys to his room. After he left, Jin Kyung came out of the shower and noticed Yura looking down. Jin Kyung, "Ah, fresh. I feel alive now. What, did I hear someone? Who was here?" Yura, "Sister, Senior Kang Seung-hyun. Did he know I'd be up all night?" Jin Kyung, "Yeah, I told you. Some of the staff are staying overnight because of the filming." Yura suddenly shouted, realizing that Jin Kyung knew Kang Seung-hyun was going out, but hadn't told her. Her face turned red, and tears welled up in her eyes. She was embarrassed, exhausted, and had a script to read, so they both decided to rest in Kang Seung-hyun's room. Jin Kyung, "Room 1703, right?" Yura, "Yes, 1703. Yura hesitated. "Sister, is it really okay?" Jin Kyung, "What?" Yura, "Can I really go to his room?" Jin Kyung, "He was worried about you staying up all night, so it'd be rude not to accept." Yura, "But..." Jin Kyung, "If you don't like it, do you want to go back?" Yura shook her head no, clearly embarrassed but unwilling to leave the luxurious room. Jin Kyung, "Look, it's fine. Go on in. I'll be downstairs playing poker." Yura entered the room, surprised at how luxurious it was. She landed on the bed, exhausted, thinking, "Ah, it smells like Senior. So much happened today. I was fine until now, but suddenly I'm worn out. I'm so grateful. If he hadn't looked after me, I might have ruined my condition for tomorrow's shoot. Above all, I'm glad I didn't disappoint anyone." She drifted off to sleep, unaware someone had seen them enter the room. The next day at the shoot, Yura and Jin Kyung greeted Kang Seung-hyun. Yura, "Hello, Senior. You worked hard today." Kang Seung-hyun, "Did you sleep well? How's your body?" Yura, "Yes, thank you very much." Kang Seung-hyun, "Glad to hear it. I have some time before filming. Want some coffee?" He handed coffee to both Yura and Jin Kyung. Jin Kyung, "Wait, how do you know my name?" Kang Seung-hyun, "Gwang Soo told me." Jin Kyung, "Oh, you have a good memory." Yura, "Senior, where did you sleep after filming?" Kang Seung-hyun, "Here at the location. It was cold and my back hurt, but I was fine." Yura was shocked. She felt guilty knowing he had slept outside because of her. Yura, "What? You didn't catch a cold, did you?" Kang Seung-hyun laughed. "No, I slept in the manager's room." Yura's face fell when she realized he was teasing her. Kang Seung-hyun noticed her expression and apologized, still smiling mischievously. Yura thought, this senior is surprisingly mean-spirited. As they chatted, Kim Jong-woo approached Kang Seung-hyun. Yura's mood soured when she heard Kim's voice. He greeted them, focusing on Yura. "Oh, the actress playing Susie, right? Was your name Hwang Yura?" Yura's face twitched in annoyance as she squeezed the cup in her hand. "My name is Hwang Yura," she replied, wondering what his game was. Kim Jong-woo smirked. "I saw you go into Kang Seung-hyun's room last night. Did you stay up all night working?" Yura was disgusted, but before she could respond, Kang Seung-hyun interjected. "Excuse me, your name is Park Chul, right?" "What did you say again?" Kim Jong-woo. "It's Kim Jong-woo. You came to my wedding, didn't you?" Kang Seung-hyun. "Oh, right, Kim Jong-woo. Where were you yesterday?" Kim Jong-woo. "What?" Kang Seung-hyun. "I was filming all night. You seem to be the only one who didn't notice." He stared down at Kim, who faltered. Kim Jong-woo stammered. "I went home early after filming. I didn't hear." Kang Seung-hyun coldly replied, "Sorry is all you can say?" Before more could be said, Kang Seung-hyun's manager interrupted, reminding him that reporters were present. Kang Seung-hyun turned to Kim Jong-woo, handing him a tissue. "Don't forget, I can bring you down anytime. Oh, you're sweating. Here, wipe the cold sweat." Kim Jong-woo stood trembling with anger. Jin Kyung and Yura watched him, amused. Jin Kyung, "Scared now? Let's go, Yura." Just as they were leaving, Kim Jong-woo shouted, "Why did you go to Kang Seung-hyun's room?" Jin Kyung was furious, but Yura stopped her and walked back to Kim Jong-woo. Yura, "Kim Jong-woo, your stupidity makes me sad. Can't you think of something new?" It was the first time Yura had stood up to him. She placed the tissue on his head. "Did you forget? The old man told you to wipe the cold sweat and stop pretending to be strong. I don't know how you even memorize scripts with that brain." Kim Jong-woo was too shocked to respond, while Jin Kyung suppressed her laughter. They left him standing there, confused. Meanwhile, the crew was busy preparing for the shoot. The director gathered the actors and explained that the beach walk scene would be modified, with the audio dubbed over. He instructed Yura to convey happiness, as her character, Susie, was hiding her plans for suicide. The director, Miss Hwang Yura, he paused when he made eye contact with King Seung-hyun. "Never mind, let's start filming." Yura nodded, and the makeup artists came over to prepare them for the shoot. They walked side by side along the beautiful sea. Yura seemed serious, and Kang Seung-hyun noticed. He gently placed his arm around her shoulder, pulling her closer. Yura looked at him, and he smiled warmly. She realized how relaxed he was and thought to herself that the person beside her wasn't Kang Seung-hyun, but rather Susie's lover, which reassured her that she wouldn't make any mistakes. To outsiders, they appeared comfortable and affectionate, but in reality, Yura was nervous and uneasy. "It's my first time taking pictures," Yura confessed. "I've always wondered what actors talk about during scenes like these." Kang Seung-hyun chuckled. "Nothing much, really. It's usually just, 'I didn't have breakfast,' or 'I had this for lunch.' That's about it." Yura relaxed a little, smiling as she asked him what he had for dinner. He answered with a grin, and without even realizing it, they looked like a close, loving couple. The director, pleased with their chemistry, observed from a distance. Seung-hyun turned to her. "Yesterday, your expressions were great. What were you thinking about?" Yura hesitated. "Honestly, I was wondering. It's been years since my debut, but why do I still feel so inadequate?" Seung-hyun reassured her. "I've had my moments too. Once I even upset the director, but I decided I wouldn't let those experiences define me." Yura looked at him hopefully. "So, you think I can do it too?" He smiled, pulling her into a hug. "Of course you can." "Thank you, Senior," Yura said, tears welling up in her eyes. Seung-hyun continued, "Remember when I asked for your name? I'll never forget how much effort you put into this shoot. Maybe someday we'll work together as partners again." He tilted her chin up and asked, "Have you ever kissed anyone before?" Embarrassed, Yura blushed and admitted she hadn't, though her words hinted at the possibility. "Kiss?" Yura stammered. "I haven't, but maybe now." She trailed off, her eyes locked with his. Seung-hyun was taken aback by her innocent beauty. He leaned in closer, but instead of kissing her lips, he gently kissed her forehead. "Don't cry too much. I can't wait to see you in Seoul," he whispered softly. Yura, still dazed, snapped out of her thoughts when her friend Jin Kyung asked if she'd packed everything for their trip back. "Oh, it was just a day trip, so I didn't bring much," Yura replied, trying to shake off her dreamy state. Jin Kyung pointed towards the interview set. "Looks like they're here to interview the main actors." Yura glanced over, feeling a pang of sadness. "Sister, when will I ever be the one sitting in that chair?" Sensing Yura's frustration, Jin Kyung hugged her. "We'll run harder, Yura. Don't give up." As they cheered each other up, Jin Kyung noticed Jong-woo Kim heading for an interview. "Ugh, just what I needed to see. That cheap guy. Let's go before I lose it." Yura turned back to see Seung-hyun joining the other main actors for the interview. Her heart sank. "It's strange. He was just standing next to me, yet now he feels so distant. I guess that's what it's like with celebrities." The thought of their brief connection made her face flush. As the interview ended, Seung-hyun looked around for Yura, only to learn she had already left. Later, after a long day of shooting, Seung-hyun's manager told him to rest, but Seung-hyun found himself missing Yura's smile. The next day, while filming, Seung-hyun injured his arm, which started bleeding profusely. His manager insisted he go to the hospital. On the way, his manager noticed how lost in thought Seung-hyun seemed. "Did you leave your mind back in Seoul?" Seung-hyun smiled faintly, but it only irritated his manager. "You've been off these past few days, mixing up lines and getting injured. What's going on?" Seung-hyun, still deep in thought, didn't reply. His manager finally blurted out, "It's ever since Yura left Busan, isn't it?" Seung-hyun stared at him, saying nothing, but his thoughts were now entirely focused on her. Hello and welcome to the channel. Please subscribe and comment below to help the channel. Today's story is Daytime Star. Please enjoy. At the hospital, the doctor reassured them. The wound isn't as deep as it seems. It won't leave any scars, but you should take it easy for 3 days and avoid working too hard. Kang Seung-hyun's manager sighed in relief, while Seung-hyun wondered if the director would actually let him rest for a few days. When they returned to the set, they explained the situation to the director. 2 or 3 days? Seung-hyun, take the full 3 days off and focus on your recovery, the director said. Both Seung-hyun and his manager were shocked. The director, known for his strictness, was unexpectedly giving him time off. They stared at him in disbelief. What? What's with the looks? The director asked, puzzled. Seung-hyun had expected the director to suggest filming non-action scenes first, but instead, he was told to rest. This led Seon Nyeonsia Wong-hyun to think about Hwang Yura, who had also been in an accident recently. Did the director care about that? Later that night, in Seung-hyun's room, his manager was jotting notes in his diary while Seung-hyun lay in bed. "What are you scribbling about now?" Seung-hyun asked. "Seung-hyun, if you're filming Men next Wednesday, we might need to reschedule. Director Yu asked if we could move the shoot up. Since Men is a more poised concept, the injury shouldn't be a problem," the manager said, still focused on his diary. As one of the busiest actors, Seung-hyun barely got time to rest. Hearing his manager plan another shoot while he was recovering didn't sit well with him. "You never let me rest. I think I need a new manager," Seung-hyun teased. Instead of getting offended, his manager lit up. "Really? All right, I'll consider that. I'll change the schedule and have a beer to celebrate. Have a good rest." He grabbed his coat and left the room, leaving Seung-hyun alone. After a while, Seung-hyun heard laughter coming from outside. He stepped out to find his manager watching a comedy show and drinking beer. "Really? You're doing this here?" Seung-hyun asked, annoyed. "The other managers are still on set. Want a drink? Or are you going to sit alone in your room?" The manager replied, laughing. "You told me to rest," Seung-hyun reminded him. "Relax here. Just tell me what you need," his manager said, still drinking and laughing. Realizing he wasn't going to get any peace, Seung-hyun sat down beside him. "So what were you saying?" "Mun Gwang-soo," Seung-hyun began. Gwang-soo banged his beer bottle on the table. "Well, you know, what we talked about at the hospital, you seem to—" Before he could finish, Seung-hyun cut him off. "You have feelings for Miss Jin Kyung, don't you?" Gwang-soo froze for a second, then looked around nervously. "I don't like her that much." Seung-hyun was surprised by his quick confession. "She's passionate about her work. It's kind of charming, isn't it? Have you exchanged numbers?" Gwang-soo scratched his head. "Yeah, but I can't just tell her over the phone. I'll need to meet her, but honestly, I don't even know what to say when I see her." Gwang-soo quickly changed the subject. "But what about you and Miss Hwang Yura?" Seung-hyun didn't respond, pretending not to hear the question. Gwang-soo, however, wasn't letting him off the hook. "So what's going on? Why are we playing romantic truth or dare? Don't dodge the question. Unless you're saying there's something real between you two," Gwang-soo teased. Realizing he couldn't avoid it any longer, Seung-hyun sighed. "It's kind of similar." Gwang-soo grinned. "I knew it." Seung-hyun shook his head. "Why are you so excited about this? Come on, you're not some 90s idol. You're an adult and I'm not here to stop you from falling in love. Just be careful. If the public catches wind of this, it'll affect both of your careers," Gwang-soo warned. Though embarrassed, Seung-hyun couldn't help but blush. All right. You're nagging too much." Gwang-soo smiled. "Kid, I'm just saying, if you need help, I'm here for you. But don't be indecisive. Be honest with yourself." A few days later, Yura was exhausted, having worked non-stop the entire day. She was in the car with Jin Kyung heading home. "Aigu, it's been such a long day. You must be worn out, Yura," Jin Kyung said. "Yeah, you too. It's weird though, the weather's nice, but I feel kind of down," Yura replied. "Have you felt like this since filming? Maybe it's a concussion from that water scene. Do you want to go to the hospital?" Jin Kyung asked, concerned. "No, it's not that," Yura sighed. It had been 3 weeks since filming wrapped. Some days felt like they flew by while others dragged on endlessly. As they passed a familiar cafe, Jin Kyung asked if Yura wanted to stop for a coffee. Feeling drained, Yura agreed. The cafe was almost empty since it was a weekday. Yura sat at a table while Jin Kyung went to order. Bored, Yura pulled out her phone and started playing a game. She was so absorbed that she didn't even notice someone had sat across from her. Frustrated with the difficult game level, she started to complain. "Sister, can you help me with this round? I really can't." She trailed off when she realized the person sitting across from her wasn't Jin Kyung, but Kang Seung-hyun. "What, a maze game?" he asked, taking her phone and trying to beat the level for her. Yura, still in shock, stared at him, trying to process that her senior was really there. She thought he was still filming in Busan. Before she could speak, he looked up and said, "Hey, you!" Startled, Yura quickly responded, "Yes? Can't you just restart the game when you lose?" he asked, looking frustrated as he failed at the game. Yura laughed nervously. Why are you here?" After a pause, Seung-hyun replied, "I wanted to ask you something." "Yes?" Yura responded, unsure of where this was going. "I keep thinking about you and missing you. Do you feel the same?" Yura was speechless, completely caught off guard. She just stared at him in silence. Not getting a response, Seung-hyun smiled and stood up. "I'm sorry, but I don't have time to wait for an answer. I have to get back to filming." He placed her phone on the table and added, "Text me your answer." Then he walked away. Yura picked up her phone, realizing that Seung-hyun had saved his number in it. She was still processing what had just happened when Jin Kyung returned, gushing like a fan. "Kya! That was amazing! Did you see how cool Kang Seung-hyun was just now? I got goosebumps. Hey, Hwang Yura, don't you hear me?" Yura, still dazed, asked, "What? You knew about this?" Jin Kyung grinned. "Yep, I exchanged numbers with his manager, Kwang Soo, back in Busan. He contacted me yesterday and said Seung-hyun got injured while filming." "What? Why?" Yura asked, confused. Jin Kyung teased, "Because of you, of course." "Me?" "Yep. He couldn't concentrate because he kept thinking about you. Kwang Soo said Seung-hyun was distracted and might get seriously hurt, so they arranged this meeting." Yura blushed, smiling from ear to ear without even realizing it. She was thrilled to know he had been thinking about her too. Jin Kyung continued, "He even asked if you were thinking of him too. Anyway, sorry for not telling you earlier. He came to Seoul to shoot a magazine today, and I wasn't sure if this meeting would happen." Still processing everything, Yura asked, "So, Senior Kang Seung-hyun was thinking of me?" Jin Kyung smiled brightly and said, "Exactly.